Hello everyone and welcome to the final episode in my Tailwind CSS mini-series. Now in this video we are going to be going over creating a simple website using pretty much all of the knowledge that we've gained over the last 7 episodes. We will be implementing various different topics that we covered in addition to learning one final new topic, which is the grid in Tailwind, and we will actually be learning that on the fly in this video. So I prepared a base template HTML document. I'm going to open up the Tailwind site and documentation. For here, I'm going to use the CDN. So let me find that. CDN. Yeah, right here. So this link, and then we can just toss that into here. And then after we install it via CDN, we can use the docs here and get started. So we're going to start off with building a Flexbox nav. So again, that whole process starts off when we create a header. Inside the header we put a nav, inside the nav we put a UL with the class of Flex, and then inside the UL we put 4 LIs, maybe with home, about, contact, and shop. And just by doing this, let's go ahead and start up this server from here. So hit the go live button, and notice I am coding quite quickly just because we've already covered all of these concepts and I need to put them together into a full website pretty quickly. So yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and do that. So we'll set up a Flex, and then here we'll add some classes to these LIs. For example, all of them I guess will have a padding of maybe 4, margin of 2 or 4 as well. They'll have a background color of blue 400. So we can see we've got some simple buttons here. Let's go ahead and make them rounded. 50% I think was the, okay, so let me just verify. Rounded corners, border radius. Oh yeah, it's not numbers, it's size decorators. So we'll just do rounded LG just to give them a nice rounded corners here. Whoops. There you go. And then as you can see here, we have this, and then we can kind of send these two to the right side by saying margin left ML auto, and perfect. So now notice we have a nice little navbar here with 4 kind of buttons. They're not going to be clickable just because we don't have time to implement it. But here on the Flex itself, I'll implement a background color of blue 200, just so we have a nice light blue kind of header along with our navbar here. So that's our navbar layout, and we're using Flex for this. And then here comes the part where we're going to have to kind of learn on the fly, or at least look up the documentation as we write this. So I'm going to create a main here, and let's figure out how to do grid. So we come here, and again, naturally I am speed coding here. If you're not familiar with grid as a concept in CSS, I highly recommend you check out my CSS grid series on my channel. And then so yeah, we can do column auto, column start 1, okay, grid column start end. Okay, let's figure out grid template columns, grid template rows, grid template columns. That's what I'm curious about. Grid calls 1. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is here on our main, I will create a class of grid columns, and then we'll just have there be 12 columns by default. And just to make sure that this works, we're going to need to check grid column start end. Okay, so let's just create a div just to make sure this works. We'll give it a height of 16 just so we know that it has a height. Let's make it span 6 columns, so half the page, if this is working correctly. And then let's give it a background, obviously. Background red 500 maybe. So it's not spanning half the page. Let's figure out what's going on there. So there should be 12 columns. It should be Oh, I need to set grid template rows as well. So grid rows, we'll just give it 2 rows or something. And this should only be spanning 3 columns. Grid column start end. Weird. So let me see if I say call starts 1, call ends 5, or something like that, and we'll see if that works better. Okay, so I guess change of plans. I don't know if this will actually work then. Oh, that might be because we didn't add the grid specifier. Okay, there we go. So yeah, see, I am learning this on the fly. I've never actually used grid in Tailwind before. So in order to use it properly, I guess we add the grid kind of class, and then we specify the template columns. There's 12, and then I specify 2 template rows. And then here in our div, I'm setting the height, and then I'm saying it goes from column 1 to 5. And sorry, mind the birds in the background. They're being very loud. And I'm making it go from column 1 to column 5 and setting the background to red. So what I'm actually going to end up doing with this is I'm going to make it so that this first kind of row here is an aside, or the first column is an aside, second column is the main, and the kind of third column is going to be the footer. So I'll denote that with a background. So this red will be the aside. We'll have it go from column, we'll have it span 2 columns basically. So yeah, 2 columns wide, and it'll just be a very small thing. And then we will have a div, and I'll rename this from div to be aside. And then we will create another div here that will, or we'll make it the content actually, or I don't even know what that's, yeah, I think it might just be called content, and then I'll give it a class of height 16 as well. We will say column span, column auto, just to make it go to the end, and then BG green 500. And I guess maybe not auto, let me see, column end auto. Or how can I make it span? Oh yeah, span full. Yeah, okay, call start auto, and then call end 12, just to make it go call start 3, call end 13. Okay, so that's how we can get the main content to go through the rest of the thing, and then we can create a footer here, footer, and then we can give it a class of height 16 as well. We can just say call span full because we want it to span the full thing, and we'll just give it a purple background 500. And so that's kind of our basic grid layout, and then let us just populate it with some stuff. So we can just say the height of this row, we can actually just make it like 64 instead of 16. That way we get a more kind of website-ish layout. So this is the main website here, this red and green. And then we can basically give it a title and some menu buttons. And then that will be a basic demonstration of how to build a quick layout in Tailwind. So in our content here, let's just create a simple H1. Let's give it a class, and we'll say site title. And then we will give it a class of kind of font bold. Let's give it a text LG 2XL. And then let's give it a text center. That way we center the text in this div. So that's our site title. And then let's get some menu buttons here on this aside. So let's just create a link with a width, class width of maybe 16, height of 4. Let's give it a background of red. Maybe let's make them lighter, so 200 or 300. And we'll just see what that looks like. Link. yeah, so that's that link. Let's give it an href of maybe google.com, and we'll just say Google. So clicking on that will take you to Google. I'm trying to figure out if I increase the height here. It won't increase it there. Okay, so basically what we'll do instead is, yeah, we're actually just going to use the same menu button layout. So we'll just put divs, or actually, yeah, I'll just use a button here, and then I'll give it all those same classes. So width of 16, height of 4, background of red 200, and let me just save that really quick. Perfect, so we have that button, and then let's just give it text. So we have some of that, and let's make it 8, just to make it a little taller. So that looks about good. And then let's give it some margin. Let's give it a margin top, or just, yeah, we'll just give it a general margin of 20, no, that's too much, 4. There we go. And I know this is not kind of centered, but I'm running a little bit low on time here, so I will just use this. So now we have 4 simple kind of margin buttons, or menu buttons. So this is pretty much like how to mock a site layout, at least. There's definitely some changes I would make, like I would make these li items links, and obviously I would make these buttons actually work properly and position properly. In fact, I might even, here in this aside, we could just use flex, and then do a, we could justify content, or we could say justify, or we can make it a flex column. We could say justify center, or justify start item center. And I think, yeah, by doing that, we could get rid of this margin here. If I can just remove it. Let me just get rid of the margin. And by using a flex like that, we can just make it so that they all have margin of top, maybe 4. And now we have an actual, at least it should be in theory, centered buttons here that go all to, they can be clicked, but they don't go anywhere because they don't have an href. But overall, that was pretty much just mocking our kind of site layout using Tailwind. And as you can see, this is much faster than if you were to just use vanilla CSS. So if you enjoyed this series so far, you can, or if you missed any of the concepts that we covered here, you can check out the playlist, which is linked in the description. I will be starting my Materialize CSS kind of tutorial series soon, and Materialize was my personal favorite framework, but I really am getting a little bit more into Tailwind just because of its ease of use. And Materialize was the first framework I learned, and it's somewhat similar to this, but it has more classes that add more things. So stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for notifications whenever I post new videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.